What's up everyone, welcome to today's video, welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today we're talking about exclusivity and live services because there seems to be this uncanny relationship between this at the current moment. And the current moment is seeing basically both major platform makers, or two of the platform makers that are in the console space, are moving to a broader platform, audience. Xbox has taken some of its games to PlayStation. PlayStation has basically turned 2024 into a PC release year. It's insane. We even have Ghost of Tsushima coming very soon. And basically in the same year, we're getting the, Horizon Forbidden West Complete Edition. It's cheaper and it's the better edition. That's crazy that they're giving the better edition to a different platform holder. What's going on here? Well, there's an article that actually comes to mind that I think kind of simply points this relationship in a very casual way, but when you kind of look at it very carefully, you'd be like, oh, that's crazy. So gentleman over here, Sean Layden, who is a former PlayStation executive, basically said in this interview that apparently, or maybe talk or whatever he did, that exclusivity is the Achilles heel of blockbuster games. He says in this article, the future of console platform, this is the article writer anyways, exclusive have become a hot topic in the games industry after Microsoft planned to bring 4 of its games to PlayStation 5, and Sony became the latest company to announce a wave of job cuts following lower than expected financial results. Here's what's going on, in my opinion. When you have a studio, what you need in that studio is an influx of cash. And you're going to get that influx of cash or you're going to go out of business, or that studio has to have something that's bringing in enough cash flow to hold down the manpower and to hold down the talents that you have and keep them paid, keep HR vibing for them. If not, they're going to go home. Now, you don't want them to go home because, yes, you're a corporation that wants to make money, but it's expensive for them to go home. That's basically losing their jobs, because if they do, what eventually happens is that there's nowhere to find people to easily replace them for cheap. You have to train new people and so on and so forth. So seeing Xbox bring its exclusives to PlayStation, in my opinion, opens up the conversation and say their possibility is that this is a cash flow strategy. Being able to keep TangleWorks open means they probably need to be selling more games, keep that budget just, circulating and being something that is productive in terms of the dollars, so that they can keep engineers, they can keep creatives, they can keep, all kinds of people that work in that studio to make it a profitable powerhouse. That's a very simple explanation. However, what's going on right now is, if you look at the PlayStation studios, their powerhouse games are exclusives. They don't have any other source of income, and they're mostly single-player games. So their monetization possibility and potential goes down faster in regard to the way they're getting money. So that's why you're seeing the layoffs show up across many studios who are not necessarily getting heavy hits right out the door. Did you hear of any job cuts at Santa Monica? You didn't. Why? Their games sold well. They had the cash flow, more than likely, not saying there were no layoffs or job losses, but the jobs basically stayed so that they could continue production in other games. In the case of Insomniac, the reason I think we're seeing it is because the cost of production is just way higher because Spider-Man is not an original property. This is why they threw Ratchet and Clank out there to possibly try to generate cash flow, but that didn't even sell too impressively on PC to make for sustainability. And the reason, I think, is mainly because it was just too late. Just too late. Ghost of Tsushima studio Sucker Punch didn't seem to actually, in a sense, possibly, have many layoffs. We don't know for sure. But at least that is a studio whose production cost for Ghost of Tsushima was not necessarily too high. It was about $60 million in terms of production. In the case of Spider-Man, that's like almost $300 million. That's almost a 5x in terms of what it costs. So yeah, they got to figure out a way to be able to keep costs and to be able to get people still employed so that they can get products still being made. This is just the stark reality. And one way that they think they can do it is by hitting the live service jackpot. And this is what brings me to the part of Sean Layden's article where he said this in this particular missive of his. Sean Layden, who during a 30-year career at Sony served as CEO of SIE America and chairman of Worldwide Studios, commented on the future of console exclusives in a new interview with GamesBeat. He says this: when your costs for a game exceeds $200 million, exclusivity is your Achilles heel. This is a very, I don't know, he thought about this, okay? I think he crafted this statement before he came for the interview, or he's been thinking about this issue for a long time. That's the best description I could ever think in my own opinion, because if you think about Achilles, Achilles was a warrior. He was very, very strong according to the Greek mythos and the way he's been described, right? But he had a weakness that basically was the nuking factor, and all that was needed was just one single compromise to that weakness, and boom, the entire strength of that entity was gone. Exclusivities can be strong. Exclusivity deals and exclusivity-based games can be strong. However, there is a kink in the armor, and that is exactly what exclusive deals can actually be overall. And this is what we're seeing, and that's why I think Sony's PC strategy is the next bet. Their president has said it. They basically are doing it. I think it's based on timing now. The reason you probably didn't see Ghost of Tsushima early is because they prioritized Spider-Man, and Ghost of Tsushima is already coming, and Horizon Forbidden West, Guerrilla might be basically, mostly doing that development themselves within their studio, just the resourcefulness that's there. PlayStation Studios have very, very talented people. This is not a matter of saying there's not the talent to be able to do it. They have the talent. They have the people that can do it. It's just the time to get the job done. And this is why I think PlayStation needs to move to simultaneous PC and console development on the very same day. It's not rocket science for the capacity of studios that they have. Ubisoft does this stuff in their sleep. I mean, it's insane. Ubisoft will make the games that make you sleep, but they'll look good, perform well, launch on the release date, but still make you sleep. Why can PlayStation Studios not start hiring and strategizing and structuring to do it? This is a matter of sustainability, and the cash flow side of things needs to be heavily considered when it comes down to it. Because every studio is only going to maintain its staffing, or publisher is going to maintain their staffing as good as the cash flow is from their products. And it brings us to the live service side of the conversation. The live service games have the potential and the possibility of keeping a studio afloat with consistent monetization, consistent sales of the game, because the game has an ongoing structure. This is just the business of things. And as many players may sit here and talk about how they hate live service games, they're not really consistent, because they only say it, from their mouth, but they never really prove it from their purchases, because they talk about how they feel, yet they don't necessarily realize that the market is not too, moved by what they feel. Rather, it's moved more by what they actually spend their money on, right? So you may say, I hate live service games, but if you're not over here buying the edition of the single player game and the digital deluxe edition of the single player game, or you're not doing the most, you're not really adding to the conversation. And I understand everyone's got limited resources, but the studios still look at the viability of the live service games and say, man, we need the cash flow. We need the money to come out. Look at Respawn. You think Respawn is literally just a single player studio? No, they've been able to hedge themselves with the live service offering that they continue to support, that has thankfully hit for them. And so they're able to keep some of their really, really, core staff as they make their single player titles. This is a very subtle, direction to go. And so seeing Warner Brothers say they want to do this is not, and should not be surprising, because I'm sure you all loved Star Wars whenever it didn't have bugs or glitches, or, it wasn't broken in terms of performance. That's a game that a lot of us enjoyed, right? I didn't play the second game because, it was buggy for me, and I eventually just lost interest. No performance, on the PC side. That's why I didn't play the second one. It was one of the games I was looking forward to the most, in 2023. I was so excited. I was going to just take some time and chill and play it, but that just didn't happen. However, the pipeline in terms of the investment that they've made in Apex Legends basically keeps the studio open. So when you think about it from a business perspective, it makes sense, because gamers, as much as they'll swear that they don't like live service games, they do. They'll tell you that Helldivers is actually a good game, but Gotham Knights, but Gotham Knights is a live service game. They're just lying and projecting. Gotham Knights is not a live service game. Some will even tell you that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a cash grab, while Helldivers 2 is actually a good game. Ladies and gentlemen, Helldivers 2 is literally one game mode in The Division 2. But a lot of people will make fun of The Division because of whatever the heck it is they want to make fun of. And they're not necessarily, as, in my opinion anyways, committed to the reality of what it is that they're actually saying. So even if they may be saying it, they or their peers are spending differently. And even if they may also say they don't like it, the single player games are, dependent on live service offerings. It's just the reality. And another thing too is you probably say, but how come Sony had not necessarily made these moves in the past few years? Well, the changes are in. Think about right now, PlayStation's biggest moneymaker was never any of their PlayStation single player games. One of their biggest moneymakers was Call of Duty every year, but now their opposition, or I would say competitor, has Call of Duty. So they really have to make changes and make tweaks. Sadly, this will mean them putting money into live service games, or fortunately, it will make them bring games to PC. That's just how the market is going to have to go in order to maintain sustainability. I know there are a lot of people in the PlayStation space or Xbox space who may not like this multi-platforming thing, but trust me, you won't have these Xbox games to play in a few years if they don't make these shifts, especially with the rising cost. Or maybe you'll enjoy the indie games because those ones are less expensive to make and based on the grit and based on, the skill and the talent of the indie, developers. And so that's probably where things are going to go. But anyways, I thought I'd just give, a little bit of what I think are my thoughts on this situation. I really do think that at the end of the day, it's a very, very interesting place to be when it comes down to talking about video games and talking about exclusivity and all of that stuff. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching the video. Appreciate you guys so much. Peace out.